Since the last time we were together, I've begun working on my mountain, my hillside backdrop I got here on the back of the model. I used 3 different colors of paint and a bunch of water and just shoved off, and so far have produced some pretty convincing results. What I'd like to do in this video is invite you to join me for a little scenery marathon, if you will. See if we can't finish this up using just regular guy techniques. Plus, I want to answer the big question. Steve, why does it take you so long to put out videos? If you like what you see by the time we're done, make sure to subscribe. And welcome to It's My Railroad. Hey, welcome back to my hobby room, to the Brown Smith Railroad, and to my new layout. Just clipping right along. Well, it's not actually completely new. If you saw the last video, you know that most of this is new, but there's one scene that I kept from the old layout. I don't know why I'm telling you that. Let's move on. Let's answer that question, shall we? Steve, why does it take you so long to put out a flippin' video? Well, here's the deal. I'm out here every day, just about every day. And I work out here during the weekends. I'm always working on something. It's just not all for It's My Railroad. I do these videos for you guys. I do work for the channel members, a couple of videos for them a month, and I do some work for trains.com, Model Railroader magazine, and for my new channel, Dirt Guy Models, where I do diorama, sci-fi, weird kind of stuff. If you're into that, there's a link in the description. Go check that out. But blah, blah, enough advertising. I guess that's what that was. I was advertising. Forgive. Let's move on to the model, shall we? Yes, let's do it. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get this sort of sculpt-molded hillside painted, and then we're gonna add some landscaping materials to that, because ultimately I wanna get down and build my yard, finish my yard up down here, but I don't wanna be dripping paint and everything over my finished yard to get to the hills in the back. So I'm gonna set the camera up in a different spot. Hopefully we'll get some good shots of this. I'm gonna get my paint and we'll just go through the process and turn this white sculpt molded hill into something that I think I'm gonna be pretty proud of. To achieve this effect, here's the materials we're gonna use. We're gonna use this black acrylic paint, burnt sienna acrylic paint, and brown acrylic paint. We're gonna use some water, a brush, and a paper towel. Let's start with the black to really bring out some of the detail. Okay, we'll start by taking some of the black paint, just a little bit, like that. That'll work. And then put just a little on the tip of the brush, and then rinse it around in the water so it's kind of really washed down. Then with that solution on there, we just reach back in and start painting the hills. Now you can see right out of the chute, looks a little more black than we'd like. So get more water on my brush. Just keep going with that. And it starts looking a little bit less like Sculpt-A-Mold. It starts giving that edge. Now, frankly, if you think you're getting too much on there, you can just go dab it gently with a paper towel, and what that does is it pulls it off the top but leaves it down in the nooks and crannies. You can also experiment with more water, less water, whatever seems to work, but then we just keep painting that on. I'm even going to go up here on the backdrop and put some of that slightly diluted on there to add like a shadowing effect. But you can see here, this not exactly rocket science. You just get a bunch of paint on there and you water it down. Well, you don't want to go too fast till you do that. I don't know if you can see that, but I just put a bunch of black paint on my backdrop. You see here it's kind of running down a little bit, and I'm not really concerned about that. It's kind of the natural erosion of things, I would say. But anyway, it's just more of the same. You just keep doing this, and what you end up with is some kind of almost like granite kind of looking surface. But the important thing is it's picking up all this detail I left there when I put the Sculpt-A-Mold on. All right, let me get the rest of this black on, and then let's move to another color, shall we? Well, there you go. I've got all that black washed paint on there. You see I got up on the backdrop, make some shadowing. And you can also see why I use Sculptamold instead of joint compound. I mean, look at all those nooks and crannies. It almost looks like a giant piece of granite, a granite mountain, if you will. Problem is I can't leave it like that because in scale, it's a little overpowering for the amount of granite. We're gonna put some brown on there next. But while that dries a little bit, let me take you to another place on the layout and show you something else I've been working on. Okay, welcome to a little scene I call Riley. This is a scene where I've got Brownsmith Global as a scratch-built distribution warehouse and an industry called Star Industries. They make pet food, of all things, and both of them are rail served. Again, this one's a scratch-built as well. Working on this for trains.com, but I recently, over this last weekend, I put in these curbs here using 030 styrene. Now, before you judge me, I got asphalt, basically, up on the curbs. I got to go back with a very small brush and sort of tune that up a little bit. But as part of the overall operation, I've been running ops in and out of this scene and then the Carleton scene and really having a lot of fun. Matter of fact, that's another reason you don't get so many videos from me is because I'm actually enjoying running my trains on my railroad. But anyway, I'm looking back over at the other scene and it seems to me that paint's probably dry enough. Let's put some brown on it. All right, so back over at the hillside, you can see where I left off before, the brown, and you see what we just painted. Hey, it's like a continental divide or some crap like that. Anyway, here's what we want to do. We want to start extending that brown paint down through there, and I'm going to basically use the same technique. I'm going to put a little bit of brown on my brush, get it wet, and then just start washing that across there like that. Now in areas where I got maybe too much black and I don't quite like it so much, it's a little too dark, I can put more brown on there like this. But then leave areas like right here, which kind of shows like more granite and not so much dirt, brown, whatever you want to call it. And just keep washing that along there. Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm having a hard time blending these two. I think I need more brown, just actual paint on there. That's not so washed down to help blend it in, I think. Now, some of the places I'm putting this brown on there, I'm gonna go back and put actually some kind of ground cover on there. It's not just gonna be paint by the time we're done. Put some scenery up here too. But as you can see, I'm just using that same technique of just washing on the brown paint. Man, that's like a really dark hole right there, huh? Hold on, I'm gonna interrupt myself. We need to put something that's not so dark in there. Man, that's terrible. Leave the rock face there, but kind of fill that in. I think we put in some dirt, some shrubbery or something right in there. Maybe plant a pine tree or something. I don't know. I think it'll look better. Okay, so this is an excellent time to share one of my mantras with you, and that is, this scene is going to go wherever this scene wants to go. It works like that when I do Photoshop projects, modeling projects, whatever. I've got an idea, and then I shove off, and then it becomes what it wants to become. I know it might sound a little weird, but one of the things about that is encouraging. It liberates me to just follow the brush, just apply paint and see what happens. So on that note, let's apply some more paint. I'm heading over here. Now, I'm not gonna spend way too much more time on this because it's pretty much more of the same. You just keep washing on the brown paint. But what I will tell you is this, it doesn't need to get everywhere. We want to get some kind of a variegation here, right? So thicker in some places, maybe finding a place that would naturally wash down, pretend it's dirt, it's naturally washing down from the top, and then leave some of the Sculptamold with black on it behind. It's kind of a rock feature, it's kind of got some gray, it's a granite, something, I don't know. You just got to sort of keep going and see what happens and see if it's something you like. The good news with all of this is because I'm using so much water, you can pretty much just dab it off with a paper towel if you don't like it and come up with something else. Now, let me show you this. Bob Ross would call this a happy accident. The brown paint is sort of naturally drifting around these features and coming down. I think that makes a really nice erosion effect, as if the dirt is just sort of running down the side of the hill. Again, this is just stuff that as it happens, it happens. You kind of get a feel for how it's developing and keep adding to it. I like that. I think I want to add a little bit more to that, just for the sake of it. See that? Just let it run down. Look at that. I think it looks pretty cool. Matter of fact, I know it looks pretty cool. I'm happy with it. Let's just keep going. Boy, that brown sure added some nice variegation of color. Look at that. Sorry, I don't mean to gloat. I'm just really happy with this. Still got to put the burnt sienna on, which we're going to do to add some more highlights here and there. But while this dries, let me show you one other thing I've been working on the railroad. All right, so I'm going to do this really quickly. This is historic Switch Junction. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know one of my signature scenes was Switch Junction. So much so that I took the whole module it was built on, brought it over, put it in the new layout. Well, there's no actual place for Switch Junction to be rail served on this railroad. So what I'm doing is I'm making it a historic town. Again, it won't be rail served, but I intend to put a track in here, put some of my older freight cars, my 2-truck chaise, stuff like that on there, make it like a museum. Now, this is something I'm doing for channel members. If you're interested in what that's about, go to the channel page, click join, and watch my little commercial. But other than that, I'm really stoked about being able to use my old depot, my old town buildings, and of course, some structures that I scabbed off of my old logging camp. So anyway, I'll try to keep you guys updated on that as we move forward. But now let's get back to the reason we're here, which is painting that mountain over there. The brown paint gave us some pretty good variegation, but there's a little bit more we want to do. I'm taking some burnt sienna, which has got a little bit more sort of red in it. And we're gonna find some places like these darker places and run that along there to have just a little bit more difference in the colors. See, it's a little bit more red. It doesn't exactly match the brown. Now I'm kind of going in an A shape, see that? To sort of make it look a little bit more like it's an eroded strata layer. We'll put some water around the edges to blend it in. Now, from the camera, it might be a little hard to see the difference this makes, but I gotta tell you, here, live in the hobby room, it's coming out looking really good. So anyway, we won't spend too much time on this step. It's basically the same thing I've done. You can use tans, you can use beiges, grays to try to get that effect. Boy, that's certainly pretty good, actually. So one of the advantages of scaling back a model railroad is you end up with a lot more scenery materials than you need. This is my collection of pine trees that I scratch built. If you want to see how I did that, there's a link in the description to a video I made over on the Dirt Guy Models channel that'll show you how I did that. To get started, what I generally do is go through and figure out where I want the trees. I just start poking holes and setting trees until I got what I like. Matter of fact, I think we'll put a smaller tree back up in here because it's kind of in the distance. Look at that, I got this really sharp metal finger and just poke it right in there. And then sifting through my inventory of pine trees, I got me a little one here. And I'll just set him in that hole like that. Now, ultimately, I'm gonna pull these back out. Everything I'm gonna put in right now, pull it out, mark the place, put in some landscaping. The last thing we'll do is permanently plant the trees. How about we put a cluster of maybe 3, I don't know, let's just see what happens. Let's put one here, and now let's put it further back right here. See, that's just punching right through that thin layer of sculpting mold I put and right into the styrofoam underneath it. We'll set that tree in there. And it's a nice little cluster. Maybe put some here. Down here at the bottom, down here further, I'm gonna put some taller trees. But let's just plant another couple of trees And then I'll do the rest off camera and we'll see how it goes from there. Maybe here. Oh, by the way, the reason I'm doing this now instead of after the fact is it generates this white dust. And what I want to do is get all these marked and put all these where they need to go. And then we'll get rid of the white dust. Then when we plant them, we don't have to do anything at the trunks. See, I get this little, I don't know what that is. Oh, that's paint coming off. Well, okay, it's a rock now. Well, there you go. I've got all the trees set in the hillside, and it doesn't quite look right to me. I think my idea about putting small trees in the back, big trees in the front isn't working for the scene. So when I actually replant all these, I think I'll put the tall ones in the back and work my way down to the front with some smaller trees. But with the trees in place, it's time to pull them all back out so that I can put my ground cover in and then put the trees back in. Now here's the thing, I've got all these holes that I popped for these trees. I'm gonna lose the holes, I think. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a bamboo skewer and go through and just start popping trees out and putting a little marker in where I got the tree out of. Oh, that tree just came apart. Here we go. Oh, there it is. Oh, look at that. It's like a crater right there. Who cares? Just grabbing them, pulling them out, and setting a little stick in to mark their place. So I'm gonna do that for all these trees, and then I'll come back and we'll start putting some ground foam in here and some static grass and really make this thing look good. So I've got all the trees marked, and now it's time to put on the ground cover. To do that, I'm gonna use this blended turf. It's a green-ish color. And then I got this fine turf here that's like an earth blend. I got some more blended turf that is also an earth blend. Then I got some more blended turf that's a greenish color. I don't know. And then I got white glue to secure it. Let's get on that. All right, so to apply the ground cover, let's start back here. I'll just put some of this white glue down. Not too heavy, like that. And take my brush. Now I'm gonna dab it along there. Here's why I'm dabbing it along, stippling it, if you will. Because down at the edges, I want it to sort of be thinner and catch here and there, but not so much catch everywhere. And then up here at the top, we can just brush it on a little thicker. Around the trees. That. So with that on, I'm gonna start with my fine turf earth blend. Again, you saw those different colors I had, and so we're just gonna apply them. And if it's you doing yours, you can just do it however you want. I'm just gonna rain it down from way above, start covering it here and there. I don't want to completely cover it because I got other ground cover to put on. Raining it down, raining it down. Look it's raining grass. It's raining grass. Oh, these are the jokes, people. I mean, I don't know, I think it looks pretty good for starters. Then I got some earth blended turf. You saw that earlier. We'll rain some of that down on here as well. See how it's, I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of cascading down the side of the hill a little bit. That's kind of what I'm after. So it'll catch that stippled glue down there. Just keep raining that on a little bit. All right, that's good. Now we're gonna get some blended turf that's actually a green blend. Again, I'm not really certain what all these colors are, but they're colors, and I'm looking for some variegation here. I'm raining it down from pretty far above so that just its natural fall will thin it out a little bit on its way down. I don't get any big clumps, although I get some big clumps here and there, but overall, not so bad. And then lastly, we'll also put on some fine turf burnt grass. This grass is burned, people. There, something like that. Now in this shot, it just looks like a bunch of dark stuff. Let me go let me go through and put the rest of this on there, and then maybe find a better camera angle or something to show it to you. And then we'll put the static grass on it. Actually, let me show you this for sort of an eroded effect. I'm gonna brush some of this glue down this ravine right here. I'm calling it a ravine. Get over it if you don't like it. All right, like that. Top down, so I'm catching the top edges of the deal. And then when we go through and rain this stuff down, if we do it right, we can hopefully just pick up the nooks and crannies of it and not all of it, so it kind of blends it in a little better. I'm using the same technique here, same ground foam rain it down technique, but you kind of want it to fall down like it's coming down from the top of the hill. It's kind of clumping up there, but there's not a lot of glue underneath where that green's going, so it's not all going to stick there. Do something like that. Then let me grab my shop vac real quick and we'll vacuum that up and see kind of how it looks. So that's kind of cool. It catches the tops on its way down, gives me some kind of an eroded kind of look there. Not so bad. All right, anyway, like I said, I'm gonna go through and get that done on everything else, and then we'll do some static grass and replant our trees. Well, there you go. I got all the ground cover on there. I really like the way this looks, and I've shop vacked off the excess. But now I want to add one more treatment. On these higher plateaus, I want to put some static grass. So to begin with, I'm going to take some 70% isopropyl alcohol in a pipette and just go ahead and drizzle it on. Because here's the deal, I put that glue down before, you saw that, right? But that glue's kind of on the bottom of this stuff, and I need the glue to be at the top to make the static grass actually bond. So we'll put some of this on here. I'll show you just this one scene, and then I'll go do the rest of it. I won't bore you with all of it, but just so you get the idea, okay? So that's the isopropyl alcohol going on there. Next, we will take, this is a 50% white glue, 50% water mixture, roughly. I eyeball it, it's a regular guy way. Drizzle that on there, like this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. The static grass I'm using is Stonehaven Miniatures. This mixed green kind of, I don't know, it's really bright. I want some bright static grass here. They're really short fibers, 2 millimeter, I think centimeter, millimeter, I don't know. I don't do metric. I'm in America, people. So FYI, the static grass applicator I'm using is a cheap China version and often produces sparks. If I get too close. Well, it's not happening now, which is good news. I'm just really gently putting on just a minimum amount of static grass. I don't want to go too crazy. I want to see some grass, but I don't want to go nuts. Holy smokes, that turned out way better. Oh, way better than I expected. That short, bright green static grass really brings that mountain to life. But, you know, of course, we're not done yet. We've got to put the trees back in, and that's going to be an easy enough matter. What we're going to do is grab a tree. I'm going to grab a tall one, and I'm going to put a little glue on the trunk, and then pull the stick and place it in place like that. There's one. Let's put another tall one right here. Like that. I'm just gonna go through and put the rest of those pine trees in, give you kind of a painting shot of that. Then we got a little bit of shrubbery to put in, and then we're done on this part of the scene. Once all the trees were replanted, I decided to take some Woodland Scenics clump foliage, dark medium and light green, and just glue it to the north side. On the south side here, I got some great grass effects. On the north side, it's a little less of the grass, so I wanted to add some difference between the two sides. Anyway, I took some glue and squirted on there, and then took and just sort of eyeballed different colors of green in different locations until I had a look that I was reasonably happy with. And well, there you go. That looks amazing. I'm sorry, I'm not gloating or bragging or anything here, but when your expectations are where mine are, and sometimes it just naturally exceeds them, it's amazing stuff. I love the variegation of colors, the different textures with the static grass and the ground foam, and my recycled pine trees from the old layout have a new home where they look really good. They survived the rebuild. So I don't know, hopefully from there at home you can see what I'm seeing and you think it looks pretty cool too. Keep in mind, easy enough to do, regular guy skills, regular guy techniques, regular guy materials can often produce something that you're pretty happy about. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me as I landscaped this project. Clearly, I had a good time doing it, and until I see you again, my name is Steve Brown, and rail on, my friends.